Hey, welcome! You have made it to week 11 of What Would Prince Do? And this week, our theme is to form a band. Now, um, you could take it literally, or you could do as I did and sort of apply it to your own life. Like, whatever your talent is, create a community around you that supports that. Prince famously could play all the instruments. It was the composer, the lyricist, the studio engineer. He could do it all, right? He could record all the vocal tracks, and essentially could have been a one-man band if he never wanted to tour or perform, right? Because, in the studio, it's one thing to be able to perform all the instruments and then, mix it. So you create a recording. But if once you go on the road and you want to do a show, you need other people to play the instruments. So Prince wound up forming a band, and which he changed many, many times over the years. It morphed. His backup bands morphed as he morphed, right? He started early iterations of his band, then became the Revolution, and the Revolution then morphed into the New Power Generation, and then there are multiple versions of the New Power Generation, which really lasted until the very end of his career. Then he had Third Eye Girl, right? He really just allowed his band to change and allowed new people to come around him and bring new energy to the work that he was doing. Even Prince didn't do it alone. And I think that's a really good thing to remember because, yeah, there is some sort of pride in I can do it all. But I think all of us are strengthened when we have people around us who support us, who bring in fresh ideas. And who were stronger together than separately, right? The thought of Prince alone in Paisley Park doing everything on his own, I gotta be honest, that makes me a little sad. I am much happier picturing the Prince who had Third Eye Girl and his band, and all the people who inspired him around him. And I think that is the accurate vision of who Prince was. This week, I want you to form a band and think about it very intentionally. Like, what is a creative project you have, or what is something at work that would be better if you brought more people in on it? Can be that simple as inviting someone into a work project who might have talents you don't have or complementary skills. When I did this in 2019, I was really thinking about myself as a writer and how could I further myself on that path. So I went to a conference of the Loft Literary Center, which is a big literary center based in Minneapolis. And I met editors and other writers and people forming writing groups, and just tried to integrate myself into some of the local writing community. And thanks to that, I started going to Minnesota writers meetups at different coffee houses, which would happen one Saturday a month. And I started connecting with the Minnesota writing community. So that's just one way to interpret it. Of course, you could start an actual band too. I mean, there are people who, maybe you play piano and you can get together with someone who plays drums and just have a great time one day, just messing around, right? Jamming. However you want to interpret this, it's up to you. But the one thing that isn't open to interpretation is expanding your reach, enlarging your circle, bringing other people into something you're working on, so that it can be enhanced, right? And not being afraid or keeping something too close to the chest or feeling like I have to do this all on my own. This is all on me, because that's not how Prince did it, right? Prince was always open to new ideas. And in fact, I loved what what he said around the time of Diamonds and Pearls. He had the NPG, the New Power Generation, was newly formed at that time. That was the first album that was credited to Prince and the New Power Generation. And Prince said in the tour book, or rather in the liner notes, I'm going to quote from it, "A family is born and God bless us because we funky." So that was how Prince saw his band. It was a family. It was people he surrounded himself with. It was people he probably spent the most time with, was his band, and they were a kind of family for him. So I want you to think about that this week. Go out, have fun, connect with someone else who can bring something to a project you're working on, and now go click on another icon and see where it takes you. Have a great week.